Welcome to the W.C. Handy Home and Museum. My name is Sandra and I'll start you on your tour. W.C. Handy was born here in Florence in a small two-room log cabin in 1873. And of course we will have an opportunity to go into that cabin. This particular room that we're in now is called our meeting room. This is part of the new addition that was built in 2004. Right now, the meeting room houses some photos from the black community during the time W.C. Handy lived here and after he left. W.C. Handy's father and grandfather insisted that W.C. Handy take organ lessons because the organ, like the piano, was an instrument of the church. When W.C. Handy was just a little boy, he bought a guitar. Well, he was just so excited because he had made and sold this lye soap to make the purchase. Well, he could hardly wait to get home and share with his parents, look what I've done all by myself. Well, when he walked in the house with the guitar, his mother spotted him first, and she had a look of horror on her face. And then his dad came in and said, that's the plaything of the devil. Take it back. He had a lot of natural abilities. Now, in school, he had a teacher by the name of Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace was a professor at Fisk University in Nashville. Well, Florence invited him to come and teach in the black school. Mr. Wallace accepted. Well, not only did he teach academics to his students, he taught basic music theory. So, back then it was a one-room schoolhouse, several grades in one classroom. W.C. Handy, fortunately, was a student of Mr. Wallace's for 11 years. Now in this room, we assume that W.C. Handy probably slept here in the bedroom with his parents. The family did cook on the open fireplace during the winter. During the summer, they had an outside kitchen with a dirt floor. Now the family did not have an organ in their home, but since W.C. Handy's father and grandfather both were Methodist ministers, they felt that he should take organ lessons because the organ, like the piano, was an instrument of the church, which was the only acceptable instrument. Now, as I told you previously, W.C. Handy, as a child, made lye soap to buy a guitar. This is an original organ. However, this organ was donated by Mr. Kimbrell. Mr. Kimbrell donated organs to all of our museums representative of the time period. When he was a teenager, he would go to a barbershop, neighborhood barbershop, because a band would be there practicing. And he'd hide out, of course. One of the band members, ironically, was a trumpet player in the band, saw him and asked if he liked their music. Well, he said, of course, yes, I do. His next question was, do you have an instrument? W.C. Handy responded, no, I don't. His third question, would you like to buy one? Because he was in the process of getting a new one, and he was going to sell his old horn to W.C. Handy. The reason why he's known as the father of the blues is not because he was the first to ever play the blues, but he was the first to ever music and have it published. No matter what kind of titles he had, he was still treated as a second-class citizen.
Chocolate gravy is wonderful. It's like a thick gravy, but it's not puddingy, if that makes sense. It's very sweet though. Mine's true, ain't it?
The tradition of it. The tradition.
You like that puddingy, didn't you? I could tell. Well, my children grew up on chocolate gravy. Every Saturday morning we had chocolate gravy.
So what are you going to spread now?
I'm going to spread this Bloomsdale long-standing spinach, and right behind it, Florida broadleaf mustard.
You'll really know the difference in elevation if you get elevation added to the lake, or the elevation is lowered. You'll tell a quick difference when they start generating up there. they can push more water through over there than I could ever do at this lock. As a matter of fact, when they got the spillway gates open during flood situations, they tell me that when they go to start cutting these spillway gates back, they've got to be careful and do it slowly. This lock has 4 emptying valves. It's got your main emptying valves that'll empty out here in the discharge area over there, what we call the powerhouse area, the dam area. Then I got a canal that all the traffic's got to come up to lock through this lock.
But Helen was born here. The home was built in 1820 by Helen Keller's grandparents, and it was a 640-acre plantation. It's now 10 acres. But when Helen was father had been married, had 2 sons with his first wife, Captain Arthur Keller. And he was a U.S. Marshal, he was an attorney. He also was an editor of the newspaper, so he was a busy man. But he had 2 sons with his first wife, and when she died at a very early age, he married Kate Adams. And she also was a descendant of John Quincy Adams. They lived in a little white cottage out here. And that's where Helen was born, June the 27th, 1880. And at 19 months old is when she developed a fever, and this left her blind and left her deaf. Temper tantrums, mad fits, that's really the only way she knew how to handle it. Went on till she was 6 years old. And it was through Dr. Alexander Graham Bell that her father was told to go to the Perkins Institute for the Blind in Boston. They may have a teacher willing to come here, and that's when Annie Sullivan came to Tuscumbia. Very young, she was 20 years old. She also was a very determined woman. She was going to die trying to help Helen. And of course, Captain Keller did give her a little resistance. He could not stand to see Helen disciplined. Annie knew she had to be if she ever made a breakthrough. But they had to trick Helen, so when her and Annie went over to this cottage, they rode Helen around for an hour or 2, brought her right back here, and she thought she was 100 miles off. But in less than the time that Captain Keller would allow them to be here, at this very pump, Annie, the water was flowing on Helen's hand, Annie was spelling water. Something clicked in Helen's brain. This cold wet is what she's spelling here to me. And of course, she had to do the manual alphabet. She couldn't see. She had to fill the letters. And when she made the connection that everything has a name, she learned 30 words by the end of that day. She went to different schools to prepare her for Radcliffe. Harvard would not take a lady in those days. She not only graduated from Radcliffe, she graduated cum laude. And never before, and it was 50 years later, before another blind and deaf person graduated from college. She worked for the American Foundation for the Blind until she was 80. And in the museum, out on the clearing, it's gorgeous over here on the other walk. There'll be gifts from almost every country. Where she had lectured, she raised money, she opened schools. Now this is the kitchen in the cook's room. They didn't have the kitchen in the home then on account of fire. Of course, the pump area. This is the ice house. The building out here, over in the parlor, the lamps in there were kerosene or oil, and they've been converted to electricity. You'll also see a picture of Helen's great-great-great-grandparents over the sofa. And they come out of Virginia. Their last name was Spotswood. Also in the parlor, you will see Helen's father's Reginald desk or secretary. There's an organ in there that's 1871, and the round shadow box over the organ is 150 years old. And we about decided that was some type of headpiece. The dining room, original dishes, the ones that she didn't break. There they are. She broke most of them. Of course, I can't begin to tell you all the accomplishments that Helen made, the honors that's been bestowed upon her. She was on
I hope you enjoyed
US
Alabama as much as I did this week. Until next week, I'm Jon Haggins, the GlobeTrotter. Remember, get up, get out, and travel.